If you forgot to slam a protein shake 30 minutes after a workout, did you just waste your entire gym session? After doing a deep dive into one of the most talked about ideas in the fitness industry, which is the anabolic window, I put together a thorough analysis that'll determine whether this concept is fact or outdated fiction. So what does science actually say about protein timing? And speaking of macros, if you want to go beyond protein myths and delve into whether your post-workout carbs are hurting or helping your progress, I put together a study that explores this topic extensively, and you can grab it for free with the link in the description below. So where does the anabolic window come from? For decades, bodybuilders have rushed to consume protein powders and high protein meals right after the training sessions. The theory made sense on the surface. Weight training causes micro tears in your muscle fibers, so you need to feed your muscles fast to be able to rebuild, repair, and grow. Over time, this idea has evolved into what we now call the anabolic window, which is a 30 to 60 minute post-workout period where if you didn't get your sufficient protein intake in, you missed your opportunity for gains. So is this just gym lore, or is there actual evidence to support it? The anabolic window has been backed by some scientific research. At least it was at one point. In 2002, Lemon and colleagues referred to a limited anabolic window of opportunity post-training. Then in 2013, Ivy and Ferguson made nutrient timing sound critical. Their review cited 134 papers suggesting that carbs and protein consumed within 45 minutes post-exercise can shift the body into an anabolic state. Sounds compelling, right? Let's hit pause for just a second. Because in that same year, a meta-analysis from Brad Schoenfeld, Alan Aragon, and Jim Krieger flipped the entire conversation. They analyzed 20 studies and only found small to moderate effects on protein timing as it relates to building muscle. But here's the biggest twist. A deeper analysis shows that the benefits are a result of your total daily protein intake, not consuming protein directly after your workouts. These results directly contradict the previous research that protein timing must be directly after a workout in order for it to be utilized by your muscle tissue. Well, it turns out that protein synthesis, which is the process that builds muscle, stays elevated for up to 48 hours after training. So if you're eating enough protein throughout the entire day, then the timing isn't as urgent as we once thought it was. This review showed a spike in amino acid sensitivity for 2.5 to 3 hours after training, way beyond the mythical 30-minute cutoff. Now, does that mean timing never matters? Not quite, especially depending on your situation. If you've been training fasted or haven't eaten in hours, it's probably smart to get your protein in quickly, specifically at least within an hour. But if you had a solid pre-workout meal, say an hour before training, you'll likely have 3 to 4 hours of amino acids still circulating. A 2017 position stand from the International Society of Sports Nutrition recommends consuming protein within 0 to 2 hours post-workout. But they also say it makes sense to eat as soon as possible after training, so why wait? But even with these conflicting takes, in my personal experience, I've always found that hitting my protein goal as a whole for the entire day was much more important than specifically timing my protein intake. So what about carbs after training? Are they important for muscle growth? And to be honest, in most hypertrophy focused scenarios, post-workout carbs are not needed. Resistance training only depletes glycogen stores by about 36 to 39%. As long as you're eating some carbs throughout the day as a whole, you'll refill those stores just fine. My golden rule for total calories throughout the entire day, whether you're in a surplus or a deficit, has been 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, roughly 20 to 30% of your calories coming from fats, and then the rest I would dedicate to carbs. Also, eating carbs just to spike insulin is not necessary. So your protein intake alone will spike your insulin enough to prevent muscle breakdown. So with all that being said, is the anabolic window just a myth? Not entirely. Say if you're an elite athlete chasing every 1% edge that you could possibly get, then it might make sense to eat protein immediately after a training session. But for most people, hitting your total protein intake as a whole is much more important and much more effective than obsessing over a 45-minute window. So think of protein timing kind of like a dimmer switch, not an on and off button. Sure, you can turn it up with good timing, but you're not going to miss out on it entirely if you decide to eat that protein a little bit later, as long as it's being fulfilled. So all in all, that wraps up the breakdown of the anabolic window. Hopefully this gave you some clarity. and released a little bit of pressure around that post-workout meal timing. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want an even deeper dive on the concepts that I've discussed today, be sure to download my free analysis on post-workout carbs with the link in the description below. I'll catch you guys on the next one.